Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Internet Roundup. The Internet Roundup?
Either one.
Internet Roundup with Josh and Chuck. That's Josh, I'm Chuck. We do the Stuff You Should Know podcast.
Yep.
And we like to come in the studio and have fun each week and do this.
Yep.
By pointing out fun little things that we found on the web.
Right.
And we're going to start this week with a story about the American Gothic house
Yeah.
in Iowa that may be for rent
Yeah.
soon.
The very famous house with
Sure.
the couple, the man in the overalls with the pitchfork, the Grant Wood painting. How about this? Let's just show it right here. Yeah, that painting.
From
That's American
1930.
Gothic,
Yeah.
right? Well, the house in the background is in a little town called Eldon, Iowa, population 900, and you can actually live there.
Yeah, I didn't even know it was a real house. I just thought it was a painting.
Yeah.
But apparently it's quite a tourist attraction because everybody wants to come by here if they're within an hour or two of it and stand in front of it, of course. And
Maybe with a pitchfork if they have one handy.
exactly.
They
And-
should just tie one to the mailbox out front for everybody
yeah.
to use, you know?
Or you should start a pitchfork rental business at the house next door.
Yeah. You can make some money.
$5 a picture.
Yeah. So the reason that the thing is possibly a place you can live is because the previous tenant just moved out. And it was a woman named Beth Howard. She was known as the Pie Lady or Ms. American Pie. She had a blog called World Needs More Pie. She published books and books of recipes, books of her memoirs.
Yeah.
And just sounds like a pretty awesome pie person. And she said, you know what? I did like 4 or 5 years here. I'm ready to go. Despite the fact that she was paying $250 in rent
Yeah.
for the American Gothic house. And the reason why rent was so low is because the people who run the American Gothic Appreciation Society of
Yeah.
Iowa, something along those lines, said that it's kind of a trade-off because people come in and look in the windows while you're in the shower or
Yeah.
whatever all the time. And it kept the place more secure having a tenant living there,
Yeah.
full time.
And it's in Eldon, Iowa, and it's 700 square feet. So I don't know what the rent would be anyway for a normal house. But $250 still sounds pretty cheap.
Right. And that was the State Historical Society of Iowa, by the way, that runs the thing.
That's right. And they're not quite sure what they want to do with the house. They may not have another renter, but they may. They're just deciding on the direction that they want to take it next.
I'm sure, though, if somebody out there wants to move in there and you are willing to sweeten the pot to like $255, they might consider it, You know
That's
much
right.
about that painting?
No, not really.
Ruined Grant Wood's life.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he was gay, but he was in the closet. He
Uh-huh.
lived with his mother and sister, I think. And this thing became such a huge success in, I think, like 1930.
Yeah.
That the world came to his little tiny world and wanted to poke and prod him and all that. And the attention
Freaked him
really stressed him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
it
in
seemed like a good guy who
Yeah.
just, didn't enjoy the spotlight very much.
Well, in 1930, when you live with your mother and sister, they just think you're just a super sweet guy
Yeah, or
that wants to take care of his family.
quirky or
Yeah.
something like that, yeah.
Well, man, I didn't know that. That's sad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, up next we have something else that's sad. It's called smartphone addiction, and there are all kinds of wacky studies out there. I don't know how good these studies are, but they throw around percentages like young adults ages 18 to 34. 20% of them text during sex,
Yeah, that's crazy.
during intercourse.
And like if you take everybody, like of all ages, that it goes up to 1 in 10.
Yeah,
So between 10% and 20% of people do that. That's what?
that's just a little weird. Apparently, 12% use it in the shower. 50% say they text while driving, even though it is 6 times more dangerous than driving drunk. And they have have created a phobia word for it. Nomophobia is the anxiety that people now fear when they are not, when they don't have their phone on them in their possession.
Right. And nomophobia is an acronym of sorts for no mobile phone phobia. Nomophobia.
It makes sense.
It does in a, I guess, a peculiar little way.
So apparently about 70% of women suffer from it and 61% of men. And 75% of people say their smartphone is never more than 5 feet from them at any given time, which is interesting.
So there's this guy in Psychology Today who wrote this article. He's a psychologist, appropriately enough.
Sure.
And he said that there are some signs and symptoms of nomophobia. And he does point out rightly that it's not in the DSM or anything like that, but
Not
it
yet.
does seem to be some cultural relic that is kind of real.
Yeah, the first one is feeling anxious if you don't have your phone. If you do have your phone, if you're constantly checking it for emails and texts, coupled with the compulsion to respond immediately. Phantom ring. I think if anyone's ever had that vibration sensation or hearing a ring that isn't there, they say that's a sign of it.
Yeah, another word for that is ringxiety.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. You're not listening, and if you don't know what the person in front of you is talking about, it may be a sign that you have been on your phone and not listening to the person in front of you.
Yeah, it's crazy how that happens. Like, you just come out of it and you realize, like, you know that somebody's been talking to you, but you have no idea what information you just took in.
Yeah, we had a boss that we used to work for that said his rule of thumb was to treat it like a crossword puzzle. Would you take out a crossword puzzle and start doing it in the middle of a meeting or a conversation with someone or in a restaurant?
I'm the one who told him that.
Oh, I thought he told us that.
Maybe he did, but I told him that. That originated with me.
It did?
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I've read that online, too, so it must have spread like wildfire.
Where do you think I read it?
Exactly.
I don't claim to have come up with the idea.
I think it's a pretty decent rule of thumb.
It really is, because, I mean, if you think about it, you're never going to just pull a crossword puzzle out while somebody's talking to you. It's a great touchstone.
Yeah, I call that the rule of thumb that nobody follows.
Right.
But I myself realize I've taken a big smartphone break because I realized that at my home, I was spending a significant portion of time with my wife looking at a screen.
Right.
And I didn't want to go to the end of my life. You just looked at your phone. I didn't want to go to the end of my life and have someone say, you know, those stats like you slept this much.
Right.
I didn't want to have someone say, for 4 years of your life with your wife, you were staring at a phone.
Yeah.
Because I would want that time back. So I don't look at my phone at home that much anymore at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at it in the bedroom. Not that I was ever doing like that during sex. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But not even in the room because it's like, you know, you can't fall asleep if you're looking at your phone.
Yeah, it's something to do with the exposure to that type of light right before you go try to sleep. It has a negative impact on your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep.
For sure. And that's one of the things that they said to do. Don't text and drive.
Yeah.
Try to not take your phone in the bathroom.
Yeah.
When you're falling asleep, for sure.
When you're like in line at the checkout or whatever, like put it up. Don't try and do both. What else?
When you're with your friends, they say try turning it off.
Yeah.
Not even on vibrate, but check out and invest in the people you're with and see if that reminds you of life 6 years ago.
Yeah. It was so nice because some questions went unanswered.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's a head scratcher, and everybody agreed that was a head scratcher, and that was enough.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'll tell you exactly what the answer to that is, and you just sit there and wait for them to tell you, and then you go, oh, that's fascinating.
The last thing they suggest is to actually leave your phone at home if you go out, like to an event or on a date or something. Yeah. And I do that now. I don't take my phone when I go out to dinner with my wife, and it's really interesting. It makes a huge difference because I think people don't realize how much they just fill those small gaps of time by looking at their phone for some reason.
Where normally you could be connected.
Exactly.
Good pause.
So that is smartphone addiction, and you might want to look at yourself and decide if that's something you want to try and correct a little bit. And if not, stay on your smartphone.
Take a long look in the mirror, pal.
Yeah, but hey, it's not for everybody. If you want to be plugged into that phone all day, then more power to you. Just watch where you're going.
You know what it is for everybody?
What?
Internet Roundup.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week.